Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. Stress level 10 plus. I'd say a 25 stress level, except you'd think I was exaggerating. And truly, I don't think I am. Oh my gosh, I've never been so stressed. Why am I stressed? Well, I'll tell you. The temperature isn't helping. I mean, it's just crazy cold, which means I need to cut tons of firewood. In fact, if I could, I'd be cutting firewood today, but I'll have to wait till tomorrow. And here's the things holding me back from cutting the firewood. Not to mention all of the normal work that I do here in the shop. I mean, I'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that a little later. But I am presently, wanting to fix all of these things. My Honda Recon four-wheeler, it's an older one, but if it had an engine rebuild, which I know that's a big deal, if I had that rebuilt, that would help things around here. We'd have a little more transportation here on the farm. But that's a very low priority, so that's just sitting in the background. My 2009 Polaris Ranger is the same way. It kept giving me so much trouble. I finally went out and bought a Kawasaki Mule, a 2022 Kawasaki Mule, brand new. And would you not know that it was broke from last Saturday through Tuesday? Not broke exactly, but it was apparently some kind of a fuel locked up situation, and probably due to the cold, etc. And because it's so brand new, and because I paid so much money for all the different maintenance things on it, I decided not to tear into it myself because I didn't want to avoid any kind of warranties or maintenance. So that was out for several days, brand new, but it's fixed now, so that's working. So those first two things, the Honda Recon and the Polaris Ranger, those are very low priority, but they would be super helpful if they were working. My 1957 Ford F-350 dump truck is in perfect condition, except for the fact that it just won't run smooth ever since I put the electronic ignition in it. When I first put the electronic ignition in it, it ran perfectly. Ran that way for a few days, and now it's running like crap, and it's been that way for a long time. It's just sitting low priority in the background. I don't have time to look at it, but it would be helpful on hauling firewood if it was working, but I've got a dump trailer I can use instead. My 1960 Massey Ferguson 35 tractor would also be very helpful for hauling firewood by pulling trailers, etc. It's the only tractor we have that can really bale hay well because it has the overriding clutch. I call it a double clutch. You push the clutch halfway down and the tractor stops. Push it all the way down and the PTO stops. That's helpful when you're baling hay. You can push it halfway down and the baler will keep going and the tractor stops, so it lets it catch up. And it's also great for when you're brush hogging. It doesn't push you through stuff when you mash down on the clutch. It kills the PTO right away. Anyway, so that one's out, and I think it's a transmission problem, and I haven't, it could just be linkage or something, I don't know, but that tore up on my wife, and I haven't been able to get to that. I don't know what year my four-wheel drive 950 John Deere, the only four-wheel drive tractor we have, the clutch, I assume, is sticking, and I have tried every method in the book to get the clutch unstuck. So in other words, you can't drive it because you can't shift gears because you can't mash in on the clutch. You mash in on the clutch, it stays engaged. I've hooked it to trees, I've pulled it around with other tractors, with another tractor. I can't get it unstuck. So that's probably, and both of those, the Ferguson and the John Deere, otherwise they're great tractors. I mean, they've been perfect all along until those things happen, and they all happen at the same time. My only tractor that is still operating is my 1964 Ford 4000 tractor. That's the only one I've got right now to go get firewood, and guess what the problem is with it? The power steering. I have fixed the power steering, and you're going to think I'm exaggerating. It's not an exaggeration. I have fixed the power steering on that thing probably 100 times since we've owned that tractor in We bought it in 1965, I think. My dad bought it, of course, new, and we've owned it in the family, and it's been a very reliable tractor. Never any problem, except the dang power steering doesn't work. It just keeps going out, and I keep fixing it, and if I fix one thing, something else on the power steering will break. And right now, I don't know why, but it's pressurizing the storage tank, if you will, the oil storage tank for the reservoir. It's pressurizing that and blowing fuel out the lid of that. I mean, it just has to do something to create a problem on the power steering. I have fixed it thousands of times, hundreds of times for sure. At least 100 times I fixed it. I'm not kidding, over the years. It just won't stay working. If anybody knows a trick to fixing that, please come see me. All right. And, all of those things are stressing me out because I have to cut so much firewood. And I really am almost out of options on going out to cut firewood because of that. My brand new chainsaw, a Steel 251C, I think it is. It's only like a 50cc chainsaw. It's not a big one, but it's perfect for the small limbing and tree topping and things that I'm doing here to cut up for firewood. For some reason, it's brand new. The bar is getting hot on that, and you would think, well, I know all about these things. Trust me, you're not telling me anything I don't know. That means it's not getting oil to the bar or something, or at least that's what it should mean. I can't find any problem with that. I don't see anything clogged. Everything seems to be working. It seems to be using oil, but yet the bar still seems to be getting extra hot to me, hotter than any other chainsaw I've ever used. I'm stressed. I'm really stressed. That's just on that stuff. Then you got all this stuff in the shop here. I've got 3 instruments from when Caleb was here that I really have just started looking at just this week. There's an old Gibson that he's refinishing. Let me just show you that. Caleb more or less fixed this up, but left it in pretty far bad shape. I this week have really worked on it and got it up in pretty good shape now. This is just the first coats of lacquer that I've started putting on it, so it's kind of ugly duckling on the lacquer right now, but it's getting there. And Caleb repainted the Gibson logo, which I thought he did a good job on that. And he's the one that did the sunbursting on the front here. He stripped all the finish off of this. I think he took the back off even and fixed a bunch of stuff on the inside. I filled a bunch of holes, cleaned it all up, cleaned up the binding, all these things this week, and got the finish back on this. So if this is your guitar out there and you're waiting on it, wondering what the status is, well, here it is. It's starting to look good, and I think it'll be finished in another couple of weeks here. Just based, the drying time is the only thing that's really holding me up, because right now, just spraying the lacquer on it, I'm putting 3 or 4 coats on a day. So that one's stressing me out a little bit, but then I've got an old fiddle here that he started that I think's pretty close to finish that I have to get back on and get that finished. And then poor Mr. JJ, who passed away due to COVID, left his guitar here. I can't think of his full name right now. I know it, but I can't think of it. Anyway, his guitar is here. He passed away, but we still got it here to finish up the details on it and do some inlay and get it back to the family. That's stressing me out. And, I've got other instruments here. There's another customer. And in the middle of all this stress, now I'm not going to name any names, but it couldn't have come at a worse time. I mean, like if you picked the moment in your life when you don't want something to happen, that's when this email came. It hit right just at the moment where I feel like, am I going to lose my mind or what? And it was complaining that we're not putting out enough videos on repairing instruments. That he wants to see more videos on repairing instruments. He doesn't want to see videos on XYZ, that we're putting out. And the only reply I could send to him, because I knew anything else I would say would just be terrible, all I said was, I'm doing what I can. That's the status of my life right now. If I wasn't such a strong-minded, strong-willed person, I guarantee you I'd be in the mental hospital. I guarantee you. Because, you know, I don't have too many options on heating that house other than wood. I mean, I know a lot of you would think that I'm making this up, but I'm telling you, you will go broke, literally broke. And I mean, in the poorhouse, broke. You will have to actually file for bankruptcy if you try to heat that house with anything but wood. Heating it with wood is almost free, except for the labor, the intense labor, amount of labor. And if the temperatures would just come back out of the single digits, I mean, it's been like 8 degrees, 15 degrees, 7 degrees, you know, I mean, it's been those kinds of temperatures lately. I am filling up the wood furnace every 6 hours, and it takes 2 wheelbarrows full of wood. People think I'm exaggerating when I say I burn a cord of wood in 3 days. Just do the math on that. 2 contractor full of wheelbarrows full of wood every 6 hours. How much wood do you think that is? It's unbelievable, folks. My stress level is way up here. I laugh to keep from crying. I really do. But when that email came in at that moment, because I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how am I going to get all this done? How am I going to even get some wood cut to heat the house with? Then that note came in. It just hit me at the wrong second. Trust me. Couldn't have came in at a worse time. All right, I'm off of that. And then you see the title of this video, Saying Goodbye to an Old Friend. And this, I had to just do this to lighten the mood. I'm saying goodbye to this old friend right here. I'm not kidding. That's really what I'm talking about. This bottle, if you stop and think about it, this is a bottle of dark brown leather dye, Phoebing's leather dye. And I'm at the very, very bottom. I mean, like, there's like that much left. I mean, like, there's still enough there to use, but it's just so minimal. I bet this bottle has been in this shop, or in my presence, working in my shop for over 25 years. I'm not kidding. I'm sure I had this in my old shop when I was in St. Louis County. We've been here since '98. Okay, so should I like maybe put this on a mantle, you know? Can you think of how many hundreds and hundreds of guitars this has worked on? And after 25 years, this dye is still as good today as it was 25 years ago, maybe even better. So I'm saying goodbye to this old friend. I've got a new bottle up there that's going to take its place, but I just wonder if I shouldn't put it up on the mantle, maybe even put a plaque behind it. How many things do you know that last 25 years, especially in a bottle, that are just as good as they were? And this could be 30 years. I'm saying 25 is just being conservative. It could be 30 years old. Saying goodbye to an old friend. Oh my gosh. It's finally hit the bottom of the bucket. When I look through the hole, I can actually see daylight coming through the bottom of the bottle. Oh, I had to do something to lighten my mood. I hope you don't take that wrong. Anyway. Yeah, Ron, somebody said you were worried I meant Ron. No, yeah, I didn't think about that ramification. I shouldn't have used that title now that I think about it. But Ron, I did check Ron's status just before I went live, and he said he is recovering. It's very slow. He can't really do anything. He doesn't have any stamina. In addition to that, I think his, guys our age, prostate problems, I think some of that popped up. That he said that's kind of a minor issue, but that's happening. And then he said even more than that, his stress level's up because he's just had 2 family members die, and he doesn't think he can go to their funerals. One's in Indiana and the other one's in Florida. So he's kind of stressing too, but probably for better reasons than me. Yeah, I don't even know what to tell you. I'm wore out. And then you would say, well, you need Caleb back. Well, You know, I'm not going back on anything I've ever said about Caleb. Trust me, he's a great kid. He learned a lot, did very well, all that. I'm not taking any of that away. But on the other hand, I was liable for everything he did. And, you know, there was a lot of issues off camera that I had to deal with customers. And, you know, and so he was new. I mean, he did the best he could, but there were some issues, you know, and I have to be liable for all that. So it's better for me to just be liable for me. It's got nothing to do with Caleb himself or his abilities, because they're good. And I would stand by, like I said, if I had to send out a guitar right now, I'd send it to Caleb if it was me. So I got that kind of confidence. But my point is, bringing him back wouldn't really help my stress level. You know, because there's just so much stuff that you have to deal with. I don't know how to explain it. It's just complicated. Let me give you, you know, some more stress here. This just came in yesterday. It's a Gibson Dove, and this customer came from Wisconsin again. By the way, you saw the video I put out last night, I think, or maybe you did. It's already been watched by quite a few folks. And that one came from the video I put out last night with all the Martins in it, where I'm removing the ski ramps, basically is what I was doing, and referring to this part back here where it's skied up, ramped up. Anyway, he was from Wisconsin also. Well, this is from Wisconsin too. This guy drove down from Wisconsin. He has a bicycle shop, this fellow, and he bought this. Apparently he just bought it off of eBay or something like that. And it's pretty good, but if you look up close, look at that bridge, how broken it is. The bridge is really busted up. Maybe that angle shows it to you, but it's cracked across here. This is the era where Gibson started cheaping out on a lot of things, and they put some kind of an insert in here. Why they did it, I don't know, but you know, it's causing bridges to break right through here because they cut out a big section and then put an insert in there, and all they did was just weaken it. Just really dumb stuff. And then, of course, it's got, well, actually, this one doesn't have a plywood bridge pad, but it's got a maple bridge pad. And the problem with that in this particular instrument, it's not a problem with all of them, but in this particular instrument, that maple has wore out and the pins are pulling up the buttons. I can't think of what you call it. The little knobs on the end of the strings are pulling up through the holes here. And that may be part of the reason this busted this out, because it's getting up there spreading things out. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But so the bridge plate's got to be fixed on this. I've got to make a new bridge for it, and I'm going to make a new bridge identical to this. In fact, I'm going to take these Doves out and put them in the new bridge. Yeah. I've got to fix the pick guard on it and do a setup on it. And that's not a problem. I can do all that. I just have to get it done by Monday. That's how long he's in town. No big deal. I don't have anything else to do. Okay, whatever. I laugh to keep from crying, and I'm not kidding. The status of the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human. It's super, super good, really. It's really good. I couldn't hardly tell you how good it is. You know, like it's probably worked out. I mean, they all work out just fine. But this one, if anything, I would say everything's working out better than average. I mean, it's just really working out really well. Everything's gone great. Until yesterday. By the way, I carved that rose in there all by hand under the microscope. It's the most detailed one I think I've ever carved. It's really nice. Try to hold it still so the camera can sort of focus on that. It's really nice. What happened yesterday, you ask? Well, I took this old piece of fretboard, and you can see the fret slots in it, I think, if the camera can focus on that. And I used that as my reference to, you know, kind of for this peg head overlay mostly is really what it amounts to. That's is to know how much of a gap to leave there for the nut. And so I lined this up with the 15th fret like normal and marked it, and then put this peg head overlay on there and left enough gap for the nut. Well, I got the new fretboard in from StewMac, cut it all out, laid it on here, and when I line up the 15th fret, like that, well, like that, look how much of a slot it leaves. It's it's a full 1/8 of an inch bigger than when I lined it up with this. Now, granted, maybe I should have just waited till I got this fretboard in, but I just more or less assumed they'd all be the same because they always have been, at least as far as I could tell, they always have been. But when you line this one up with with this old one, if I line this old one up with this, by the time I get down here to the 15th fret, it's almost 1/8 of an inch off. They aren't the same from StewMac. I don't know why. It just sucks. It really sucks because you just do your best, and you try to count on something. You can't count on anything these days. Everything just adds to my stress level. So if you can see the pencil mark there, that's where I was intending this to be. So I was expecting it to be here, and it's way down here to line up with this. There's the lineup, and you can see. So now I'm going to have to fill this in with some kind of a decorative thing and make it a feature rather than an error. And, and by the way, I checked here at my center. I've even drawn a little pencil line in there so I know where my center is. And, I have to do what I have to do to make all this come out. Just because this one didn't match this one. Who would have ever thought that would be different? I don't know. Gee whiz. It's only different because it can be. I don't care what anybody says, that's just that Rosa thing. It happens to me every time I try to count on something. Every time something will say, nope, too bad, so sad. It ain't going to be that way. I've got this little extension sort of made. It's just crude at the moment, but that's kind of made. So, potentially all that's kind of ready to go. Getting close. I have cut out the binding, and like I needed one more stress level, I decided to put the curly maple binding on this. It'll be beautiful when it's done, but it's also very stressful. I sanded all these down yesterday and then put them in the vacuum pressing systems bag to press them together. Before the glue, they measured, when I dry, they measured at 100 thousandths, actually just below 100 thousandths. With the glue and everything and the pressing and everything, they're 104 thousandths today. I don't like them getting bigger. I was hoping they would stay about the same. So I'm going to have to run these through my thickness sander a little bit just to knock off just tiny bits of them. And you can see there ain't a lot to knock off there. You start knocking off very much and you're going to be sanding through. What my idea was, laminating this with sycamore on the inside where you can't really see the sycamore, and putting the curly maple on the outside. I was hoping that sycamore and the walnut in between would keep this curly maple from breaking so badly. I don't know if it's possible to bend this stuff to make it fit this, but I'm going to try. I'm like certifiably crazy. I am certifiably nuts to try to make it just that much more complicated. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try really hard to get that to do that. And if it works, great. If not, I'll just maybe put sycamore on it instead of the maple. The sycamore is beautiful too, but it's not as beautiful as the curly maple would be if I could get that to work. Okay, what else did I have here? Did I cover everything on my list here? Let me just see. Oh my gosh. I think I did. I think I got everything covered. Stress beyond belief. And I know so many of you have so many easy solutions for all my problems, but you ought to come here and try to implement one of them. Just implement one of them. I would love to see you try. It's not like I am totally stupid. I can figure out things pretty good. Oh, Thomas says, that is beautiful. Hey, Thomas, I wish you could see it here closer. Let me show you something about this. The actual, this was not, how do I say this? It wasn't quarter sawn wood. It was book matched, but it wasn't quarter sawn. It was slab sawn. But yet it was slab sawn where you could open it up and the one side matched the other. Well, the grain won't quite match when it's slab sawn, but the curl does. So if you look at this, the curl matches perfectly. You can see this curl here, and I can't move my hand right, but that curl there. See, like the curl is perfect on both sides. I can't do it and look at the camera, sorry. But if you look on both sides, you can see the curling in the wood is perfectly book matched, or at least very, very similar. The further away you get, the less it's similar, but it looks real similar right down the middle. And it's really, really beautiful. That part is going to just be gorgeous when it. And I hope you think that the carving, this extra flair on the carving and all that, and this extra little body point and all that stuff, will help make this the finest mandolin ever built by a human. And again, if this is your first time watching this, this is not a brag. This is a goal. I'm trying to make this the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human. That is my goal. Whether it's achievable or not, I don't know, but I'm trying. And that's where I'm going with this. But I'm super, super happy with the way everything's turned out on this until the fretboard. But even that, it's not, a major, major problem. It's just something I have to deal with. I just can't believe they're different. I just can't even believe they're different. I've checked them in the past. They weren't different. It's just different because I counted on it on this one. It's just not easy being me. I don't care what anybody says. It's not easy being me. Okay. Let's see if we have any questions. Aletha Chris says, good morning. Do you ever use the method of French polish for finishing your instruments? You're right. It's not easy being you. Take care of. Yeah, well, Aletha, I hope you don't hear this wrong. Everybody has an opinion about everything. My opinion about French polish is it is absolutely gorgeous. It is absolutely beautiful. It is absolutely great for the acoustics of an instrument. It's good. It's a very, very, very good finish for the acoustical instruments. But it has one huge drawback. And the huge drawback I can't get over. And that is that it scratches easy. It's alcohol based. And if you sweat on it, it turns white and milky. I just can't get past those kinds of issues with the finish. It's just not a durable finish. That's the reason I don't do it. But it does have those other attributes. I mean, it's a beautiful finish. It has very good for the sound, but it's just, I can't get past those other problems. So no, I don't do it. Yeah, Michael 2X says fill that extra gap in there. He says fill it in with the Rosameister. Right now I'd rather fill it with some firewood. Oh my gosh. Thomas Dom, I think he says he thought northern Finland was a cold place to live. There's plenty of colder places to live than where I live. It's not so much the cold as it's just constant cold down in this valley. And it's always, I mean always, at least 8 degrees colder than it is just 7 miles away from here. I mean, it's always at least 8 degrees colder, and often 12, and the most I've ever seen was 13 degrees colder. So it's just this deep valley just sucks the cold in. So and there's no sunlight hitting the house. It's just hard to heat 6,000 or 7,000 square feet of concrete. You can think of all the ideas and ways to fix it you want, and I've done all of them already, number one, and except for the fact that I'm not going to tear up 7,000 square feet of concrete and run pipes through it. That would just be stupid. I might as well just build a new house. How is your pocket knife with the replaced blade doing? I don't know. Let's look. Pretty good. Yeah, it works great. I really super happy with it. Yeah. I'll be honest, I wished I would have picked a different piece of steel. This piece of steel, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to hold the edge a whole lot better than the original one. I mean, it holds it better, don't get me wrong. The original one didn't hold it at all. It didn't have any edge holding capability at all. This one holds medium okay, and that's about the best I can say. You know, I've built them out of files, and they hold like forever. This was built out of a horseshoeing rasp, which I just assumed would have the same properties as a file. It doesn't. Bummer. So I'm tempted to do it again and make it out of an actual file. But yeah, I still have it. I still use it. I like this knife. It's just the perfect knife for me. I know there's more expensive knives. I know there's better knives, all that. This one's the perfect knife. It's the right size. It's the right shape. It opens with one hand. I just really like it. Okay. Next question. Is it possible the new board's fret slot are cut incorrectly? Well, I wouldn't think so, Pete. I mean, I don't know. I would assume that it's just cut on a different scale is what it looks like, because it all looks like it would be right. It's just frustrating as heck. I mean, it really is frustrating. I can't even tell you how frustrating stuff like that is to me. And you know why it happened? I mean, you can believe what you want to believe. But any time I rely on something because it's the way it's always been, it'll be different every single time for me. I mean, it's every time. I mean, you can think what you want. You can think I'm exaggerating. I'm telling you, that Rosa curse thing is a real thing. It really is. But let me back up and say this, because I just feel like I need to say it. On the big things in life, there ain't nobody luckier on this whole earth than me. I am the luckiest man on the planet. And I know it, and I appreciate it. I'm not really complaining. I'm just stating why I'm so stressed. But I'm not really complaining. I really am not. I couldn't be luckier. Nobody on this earth is luckier than me. But when it comes to the little things, look out. Trust me, I pay for it in the little things. Okay, all right. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. The finish on the side of the D41 has gotten soft from sitting on my leg. Sticks to my pants. Okay, well, I'll tell you what that might be. I could be wrong on this, okay, because I'm no expert on all the finishes they used, etc. But typically when that happens, that's exactly what I'm talking about when I was talking about that other French polish finish. Often what they do on those instruments, and Martin did this, and Gibson's I'm sure did it too, but lots of the makers did this. They put some kind of a shellac under it, which is alcohol based, and then that softens up with sweat and everything, and that's why it gets sticky like that. So the only thing, well, I don't know what to suggest. Has it turned white on you, I wonder? If it has turned white, I guarantee you that's what this is. If you've seen it turn kind of a milky color. But that's what I'm supposing it is. And how to fix it, I'm not 100% sure. I think I'd start by just wiping it down with linseed oil, and do that, maybe wipe it down with linseed oil for several days in a row, and then you wipe it dry, put linseed, and I'm talking boiled linseed oil, wipe it on there, wipe it off, wipe it on there, wipe it off, wipe it on there, wipe it off, and do that maybe for 5 or 6 days in a row. See if that helps you. If that doesn't help you, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably in for either just living with it or refinishing it, one of the two. You might get away with just spraying some nitrocellulose lacquer right over the top of it, masking off everything else and just spraying the part that's giving you trouble. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to fix it, I'm sure. None of them are simple or fun or easy or anything. So there you go. That's why I would try the boiled linseed oil. Try that first, just to see if it helps. It won't hurt anything, I don't think, if you try it. How many coats of True Oil do you put on your top before you sand it the first time? I would say probably, it really varies. I would say anywhere from 3 to 6. It would vary. I wish I could give you a definite answer. Have I watched any of Caleb's new videos? Yes, I have. Have I watched them all? No, I can't say I have watched them all yet. Yeah, the stress level thing is the main reason. I'm just so busy and so much to do. And when I finally sit down, sometimes I don't want to watch anything to do with instruments. Yeah, there you go. But no, he does a good job, and I haven't really watched everything he's done so far, but I have watched several of them. Fretboard being off, will it throw off the tuning? Well, if anything, it would be the intonation, and I'm thinking I'm straightening all that out I've done some measurements, and it's not far enough off that it's going to create any problem for me, I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's going to be just fine. I mean, worst case scenario is I get a different fretboard. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue, so I'm just going to go with it. Michael 2X says, don't waste the firewood, Rosemeister. You're going to need it. It's not easy being me. Just an update on the Framus. It's still playing nice. This is from Bill Webb. And staying in tune, he says, couldn't be happier. So Bill's real happy with that Framus guitar. I'm trying to think. Oh, I just sent those files to Emery, so she'll be doing that video real soon. You'll see that really soon here. Watch this for just a second. Someone walked in the shop here, so just take a look at this for just a minute. Yeah, that's it right there. I laid those other things on top there. I thought you could maybe have them or use them. Those were just laying here in the shop, and I thought you might as well have them.
Pretty cool.
I did raise the action up about 10 thousandths on the base E. Yeah, because it just seemed like it was a little bit low. I mean, whenever you set them up that low, you're going to have problems if you play hard.
I know, exactly. I know.
Yeah, so anyway, all right, I'm going to go back to this live thing here.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that, brother.
There you go. I always hate to cut off Renee singing. I really do. She sings so pretty. Yeah, take care. That was just someone picking up an instrument. Anyway, let's see here. Let me go back to some questions and figure out where I'm at. Why not just make it a thicker nut? Yeah, I could do that, but I don't like the looks of those. They just, I don't know. You see them on cheap instruments and stuff, and, I don't know. I think what I might do to make it a feature, I'm going to put inlay I'm going to put binding all the way around here, and I think I might just return the binding across here just to make it a total frame around there, and then just put the nut behind the binding. That'll give me, enough to make up the difference, I think. That's probably what I'll do, and then and then that way it'll look like a feature, and I'll miter the corners here where the binding all meets, and there's ways around it. It's just more work for me. But it's the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human, so therefore it should have that extra little binding there. There's ways to justify anything and everything. How about making a fretboard using the one you used to set up the pattern? Yeah, I could do that too, and I could make the fretboard. They're just hard to make. It takes a lot of time. Has your mandolin case arrived yet? No, it hasn't. They did send me, or they did leave me a voice message that said it would probably be about a month before I would actually get it. So that's okay. It's going to be at least a month before I'm done with this thing. The truth of the matter is, if I really, really, really wanted to, I could get this thing set up today to play. I mean, I really could. It wouldn't look a whole lot different than it looks right now, but I could drill the holes, get tuners in it, put the tailpiece on here, set a bridge on here, glue the fretboard on here, and it only takes me a few minutes to put the frets on a fretboard. I could have this thing playable today if I really wanted to, but I've kind of sworn off doing that because they sound so awesome without finish on them. I don't even like to hear them myself because once you put the finish on them, they just don't sound as good. I mean, they sound good, but they don't sound as good as they do when they're completely blank. Let's see here. I've got to find where I'm at. D41 side finish isn't white. It's a 1985 model, and I will try the linseed oil. Well, I didn't say it was white. What I'm saying is, does it ever show any milky white when it's soft like that? When it's sticking to you, or when you're sweating excessively, do you ever see it turn slightly milky white? If you see that, then for sure it's got something to do with that alcohol-based finish that was under it. If you don't see that, then maybe not. It might not be the alcohol-based finish, but it could still be too. Did I see the gloves Randy uses to help his hands? No, I don't think so. I have seen gloves. I honestly, guys, you may think I'm weird, but I am not a glove person. I have never been a glove person. If I wear gloves, it drives me crazy. It really does. I think partly because I have such long fingers that, number one, I can never find gloves that fit me good. I mean, like the web is always about here, and like I can't. It's annoying as heck. It really is. Gloves are not my thing. And they just bug me to have them on anyway. Now, don't get me wrong. I wear gloves while I'm cutting firewood, when I'm really loading firewood, all that. But as soon as I can get them off, they're off. I just don't like gloves at all. Why don't I make my own fretboard? Well, I could. Like I said, I've done it before. And even if I did make my own, if I look it up, I mean, it could be that this one's perfect. I mean, I don't really know for sure which one of these is for sure the problem. And neither one of them really are a problem, as long as they're in, that's what you don't understand, is you can make a fretboard any scale you want to. You can make it this long, you can make it this long, you can make them any length you want to. As long as the proportions are right, and I'm assuming these are right, because they look like they would be right. I don't see anything that's getting big and then small and then big and then small. I don't see anything like that. They look like they're consistently going to the right size. So, and you can only tell that by looking at a million fretboards. I've looked at a million of them, trust me, and it looks okay. I don't see any kind of issues with it. So I'm assuming it's fine. So making a new one may or may not even change anything, depending on the scale I use, Bill Webb says, now you got me hooked on watching Itchy Boots. If you haven't seen Itchy Boots, and let me caveat this. If you like seeing different parts of the world, if you like motorcycles, or even if the only thing is you just like a nice lady commentary and a fairly pretty lady on top of that. I mean, she's not drop dead gorgeous, but she's a decent looking gal. Nice gal. Anyway, if you like any of that or all of that, and I like the traveling part. I mean, she goes everywhere, and this woman is the bravest woman I've ever seen in my life. I thought my wife was the bravest woman I've ever seen, but this woman has my wife topped, and that's saying something, trust me. She takes that motorcycle and goes everywhere. And I'm talking through Africa, through South America, through, Europe, Russia, you name it. She's been there on that motorcycle, and she's does really good camera work. She has a drone that goes with her too, and she rides that thing over like rickety bridges, across crazy little tiny ferry boats. It's nuts. But anyway, her channel's called Itchy Boots. And it's worth watching if you like anything like that, if you've heard me say anything. I mean, she rides down trail, and it shows different parts of the world. Like, I get to thinking, I need to improve my trails on my farm. Guess what? My trails on my farm, the worst one is a super highway compared to where she takes this motorcycle. And those are their roads. We think of our roads sometimes has a pothole. It's a bad road. You ought to see the roads this woman rides on, and she's riding to national forests. She's riding, it's just amazing. So if you get a chance, check out Itchy Boots. You'll like it. It's good. It really is good. Okay. And Itchy Boots is just like it sounds. Like, I think the reason she must have named her channel that is because she has to keep moving, I think, is the thought behind that. Okay, moving on. Will you get Emery to sing again, please? Are you trying to stress me out? Oh my gosh. I'm sure she will eventually. Have I ever tried being someone else for a day? Perhaps in disguise. I've thought about it, trust me. Can you talk about the type of glue you use, when and why, and what for, such as type 2, type 3? Well, I've covered it lots over the years on my glues, but in a nutshell, Type Bond Original I use for pretty much everything. And you can use it for everything that you're gluing wood on everything. You don't have to use anything different. If you're gluing wood, Type Bond Original will work, period. End of discussion. The reason I use Type Bond Original specifically for instruments is because you can take it apart. You can heat it, you can steam it, and it will come apart. Type Bond 3 is really good for something like this that needs to bend, and you're going to be bending this with moisture and heat and all that. Well, Type Bond Original would lose its grip. Type Bond 3 doesn't lose its grip. It is waterproof. Trust me, I tested myself on that by accidentally leaving it on my roller, and you can't get it off. Yeah, it seriously is waterproof. So Type Bond 3, if you have an outdoor project, I would use it on that, but you can use it on things on your mandolin if it's something you don't ever want to come apart. For instance, this center seam on this mandolin, I use Type Bond 3. Everything else, pretty much, I've used Type Bond Original because you might have to take most everything else apart. But these center seams, there's no reason to ever want to take those apart. So I glued those with Type Bond 3. So there's probably the two main glues I use. Type Bond Original is 90% of what I use, okay? Maybe 98% of what I use. There's so many other glues that it would take an hour-long program to talk about them, but I have talked about them all in the past. But CA glue I use for anything I can't really clamp, or anytime there's such a fine crack that you can't get anything else in it, the thin CA glue. And if you don't know what CA glue is, that stands for cyanoacrylate, and It's just super glue. It's just thin super glue. So that's another very important glue. My Canopy Glue is another very important glue. This is for gluing plastic to wood. Now, in the past, I always used one of the kinds of glues that melts plastic, which is any acetate-based glue or acetone-based glue. I'm not sure acetone's the right word, but any acetate-based glue, which is basically model airplane glue, for gluing the wooden models together. This kind of glue melts plastic and it makes it stick to wood really well. So this is great for the old bindings, but the new bindings that are PVC, this works much better. So it's Canopy Glue, Canopy 560. It's called Formula 560 Canopy Glue. You can get it right off of eBay. This really works well for gluing plastic to wood. The advantage this has over this by a long shot, huge advantage, is that you can clean this up with water and it won't mess up your finish if you get it smeared on your finish. This will eat your finish alive. But this stuff is great when you need to glue, especially like when you come to a corner where you want to glue the two plastic ends together, then this is what I try to use because it will melt the plastic together. Those are the main glues I use, really. I do use a few other glues, but those are the main glues. I mean, like those, that comprises 99.5% of all the glue I use, really. So I hope that makes sense to you. Yeah, Randy's are fingerless. Yeah, I knew that. I knew you were talking about that. I've got some of those. Somebody sent them to me. But honestly, first of all, just getting them on. And honestly, it's hard to explain all the stuff about the hands. I've got these gloves that I sleep in, that I can sleep in, and they work great and helps me sleep at night. But when I have to take them off, it reverses the whole thing because it's so tight to get them off, and it makes my hands hurt so bad taking them off that I don't even use them. So there you go. I'm not a glove person. If you had these hands, you probably wouldn't be either. Trust me. So, James says Itchy Boots is the best. That's another person that watches Itchy Boots. Yeah, she's really entertaining, I think. Just great videos. And like I said, for me, it's because she's all over the world. And the woman speaks like 10 languages. I'm not kidding you. She's everywhere she goes. She seems to be able to speak the language. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Dickie Adcock says, Alan Duss asks, can you tell us the make of reamer you use and angle of it? Do you use the same one for bridge pins and tuner holes? My reamer is a violin reamer, violin peg reamer. As far as I know, they make all of these the same. I don't know that for sure, so don't go screaming at me. I just bought a violin peg reamer from a violin supply place, and that's what I use. I don't know any more about it than what I just told you. I don't know the angle. I don't know anything else about it. It's just a violin peg reamer. And when I'm putting it through the hole of the pins for the guitar, what I do is I push it, I spin it slowly and spin it, and then when I can feel it on the end of my finger like that, I stop. I don't let it go all the way through because then the hole's too loose. As soon as I feel it touch my finger, I put my hand through the sound hole, and as soon as I can feel it touch my finger, I stop. Works great. I really can't tell you how well it does work. It works great. There you go. Simple is good. Trust me. Don't make it more complicated. Simple is good. Yeah, Bill Webb says, watch the episode where she crosses the old abandoned railroad bridge. Yeah, that's the first one I sent to Bill. Oh my gosh. It's crazy. It's just crazy. And those are roads in those countries. The guy she's talking to right there as she's getting ready to cross the bridge says, Yeah, cars go over that. I'm thinking, cars go over that? I wouldn't even walk over that. It's just nuts. It's just absolutely nuts. The whole thing is just nuts. She gets into places that she's 10 times braver than I am, and I'm pretty dang brave. It's just crazy. Stu says, how are you doing from Memphis? Well, Stu, for the shape I'm in good shape. I won't tell you what the shape is, but I'm in good shape for the shape I'm in. All right, let's see here. More questions. We're about out of time. How do you apply the True Oil to your guitars? Well, David, I tried a bazillion methods. I've tried all the methods they have on the bottle, all the methods you see on YouTube, and I ended up spraying it. And almost nobody does that. But I like spraying it. I get the best even coat, but I'm telling you what, you got to practice spraying it. You got to practice spraying it. Let me say that one more time. You got to practice spraying it. You can't spray it too thin. You can't. It's impossible. You spray it as thin as you can spray it. And one time only. If you go over it again, you've sprayed it too thick. Yeah, but it sprays really good. I get the best coat by spraying it. I really do. I've tried fingers, I've tried brushes, I've tried pads, I've tried cloth. I've tried every method you can put that stuff on with, but spraying it works the best for me, but you gotta practice spraying it. You really gotta practice. Trust me. You will get runs out your you-know-where if you just don't practice ahead of time and learn how to spray it really thin. So that's how I apply it. And Caleb learned how to do that here too. And you gotta practice. And I would say Caleb would say the same thing. The only thing a guy can do with gloves on is whistle. Well, I can't even do that. No, I can whistle, but I'm not a real good whistler. You know the women that have lots of kids, did you ever notice how well they can whistle? Renee, for instance, she had 6 kids. She had 5 daughters and 1 son. That woman could whistle and knock your ears out. I guess you have to call them to dinner somehow. Oh my goodness. BRI Wood, ? Is a $600 new all solid wood guitar too good to be true? Is it possible to make a good solid guitar at that price range? I would say, yeah, it's very possible. Solid wood can be misleading. I mean, when you think about it, plywood is solid wood. I mean, there's nothing else in there. It's just wood. There's a little glue in there, I guess, but it's wood. So you got to be careful about what people call solid wood, and like the more sensitive term is laminate, But even a laminate, quote unquote, is a solid wood guitar. But no, I know what you're saying. Is it solid, not laminated wood? Is that too good to be true? No, I don't think it's too good to be true. But there's different qualities of solid wood as well. So I'd have to see it to tell, and have to hear it especially to tell you whether I thought it was worth the money or not. But it probably is. I mean, I really don't know. $600 these days is not too much to pay for a well-made, factory style type production guitar if it is reasonably well made. Let's see here. Gary Boer. Jerry, is the first fret on your fingerboard slightly longer than normal? No, No, it's not one of those kind of deals where you'd have to cut it off or something to mate it up or put a 0 fret or anything like that. It's nothing like that. fact, when you get at the first fret, they almost line up perfectly because it's just such a minute difference. I mean, like you could see that the first fret almost lines up perfectly. I think you can see it. But as you go, it almost lines up. I'm not saying it does. It's like it's so close to lining up, you wouldn't even notice it if you didn't pay real close attention. And then each one of them just a hair off further as you go. That's why I say I'm pretty positive that there's really nothing wrong with this. It's just a slightly different fret scale. You can make a fretboard in any scale you want to make it. I mean, you really can. You can make it that long, you can make it this long, you can make it that long. It doesn't matter. You can make it any length you want to. It's the proportions. There's a mathematical formula, and I don't know if they changed their machinery, changed their equipment, changed their supplier maybe. I don't know, but something changed slightly, and that sucks. It's just because I relied on it. That is the only reason that happened. 220 viewers. We are at 9:04, which means I'm done. I appreciate all the comments this morning. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope I didn't stress you out too much by telling you about all my stress. But seriously, I'm wore out. I really am. And now I got to get that Gibson done by Monday. You think you could do that? Making that whole new bridge? Probably have to take the bridge plate out and replace the bridge plate. In fact, he kind of wants me to do that. And fix that pick guard. And then hope everything else is good on it, because we don't really know. I haven't even tuned it up yet. I got to get busy. So I'll see you same time, same place next week. Thank you.